Welcome to the Basketball Hall of Fame tip-off on ESPN2. It's the second game here today as the Providence Friars face the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame live from Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. And let's go inside the Friars locker room and take a listen to head coach Ed Cooley.
Having fun, sharing the ball, caring for one another, and at the end of the day, that team is going to be the one that wins this tournament championship, right? That's what we want to play for. Go out there, get everything we got, pick one another up, encourage one another, be positive with each other, have a smile, give a pump. Somebody on the floor, pick our guys up. I don't know if they're ready for our energy today, fellas. Everybody all right? All right. Everybody straight? Straight. Let's eat. Let's go. Family on three. 1, 2, 3. Family.
Fantastic. If that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. Welcome, everybody, with Providence College Athletics Hall of Famer Doris Burke. No rooting today, right?
You think the Irish fans need a disclaimer? No.
I don't think they'll believe it.
We're doing this a long time. We're all right.
I'm Doug Sherman. So glad to have you with us here this afternoon for a chance to see a Notre Dame team that has a rare combination of veterans in the backcourt, fourth-year seniors, for a program that is looking to bounce back this year in year 2 of the ACC.
You can make the case that last year was maybe the toughest season in Mike Bray's history. He has established a program with consistent success, but the loss of Jaron Grant about a third of the way through the season to an academic matter, when he was averaging 19 points and a 6, he had to reboot his team about a third of the way through. The guy's been extraordinary. On the other side, frankly, it's been about recruiting for Ed Cooley. He has got a gigantic personality, and he has upped the talent level, and it led to the NCAA tournament a season ago. They are excited at Providence College. About an hour north drive of here. They are really amped up about the season.
And Doris, we're going to feel that energy in this building here because of that short commute and because of the fact that Providence draws very well in the Dunkin' Donuts Center. This will have a feel of a mini, maybe. The way Chris Dunn has played his last 2 games, he has the look of being a star. LaDante Henton, his running mate, Kyron Cartwright, Tyler Harris, and Carson DeRozier. For head coach Ed Cooley, who we got a taste of earlier in his 4th season as the head coach after a 5-year run at Fairfield University. Meanwhile, for the Fighting Irish, same starting 5. Terrific sophomore point guard Demetrius Jackson. There's the combination of 4th-year seniors, Jaron Grant and Pat Connaughton, both tremendously accomplished and excellent leaders, Zach August and Steve Vastoria.
I think if you're Providence College, you are trying desperately to keep Jaron Grant out of the paint because he lived there in their game against UMass yesterday.
Well, Providence wearing its road uniform, but this will certainly have a home feel. Notre Dame in its home white as we are underway here at Mohegan Sun. There is Dunn. First points just 15 seconds in.
He is an NBA level athlete, and all of a sudden the guy who's been out over the course of so much of the early part of his career with injuries has found his footing, and he is dangerous.
Chris Dunn is the first McDonald's All-American to come to Providence in 20 years. Scott Shamgod was the last McDonald's All-American to play for PC. And after 2 years of shoulder injuries, multiple surgeries, he has the look of living up to that potential. Cartwright, the other point guard on the floor for the Friars, to LaDante Henton, back out to Dunn, and the Friars set things up, leading 2-0.
So interestingly, Dunn on the defensive end is looking opposite Demetrius Jackson, okay, who has made a major step for the Irish in terms of what he could do on the floor. The other end, Jaron Grant is checking Chris Dunn is checking Jaron Grant. So that's really interesting. One coach elects to put them opposite each other on the defensive end. The other, no, sir.
Here's Jackson, himself a McDonald's All-American. Can't get the finish. DeRozier has it taken away. The Irish keep the basketball. Jackson from the corner. Zach August continues to be active here today. And the putback.
DeRozier's got to be tougher than that. Okay, he had inside position. He's an upperclassman. He's experienced. There's no way, as good an athlete as August is, that he should come over the top. You got to go hunt bodies and check him out.
Well, August played big in the second half yesterday, 11 points, 10 rebounds. He has had a marvelous start to his junior year. And you wouldn't know it necessarily, but he's the leading scorer this season so far for this team.
Oh, he's taken a major step forward. I think it was a matter of confidence. And August has got great athleticism and skill.
Senior to senior, they couldn't hook up that time. Grant turns it over back to the Friars. No look pass to Henton from Dunn. That's the combination. Count the basket. Goaltending by Zach August.
Well, August is a guy who, in the trip to Italy, he and Demetrius Jackson got established as big-time guys. The jumper from Jackson, not necessarily his specialty. Carson DeRozier is going to have a long night if he tries to out-jump Zach August. Go hunt a body and box out.
Zach August, one of 3 Massachusetts natives, here back in New England. Nice back cut. Grant the assist. Jackson the layup.
Yeah, Grant has got exceptional vision. Come on. And if you're Cartwright, you fall asleep defensively. Jackson's got great speed. His frame is outstanding. Now, I tell you, the Irish, to me, look like a Mike Bray team this year. They're going to be able to spread you out offensively. They can play with pace.
Shot clock down to 8. Here goes Dunn. Left his feet, turned it over. Here's August. Crowd wanted a traveling violation. Instead, he'll get a chance for 3.
The crowd was reacting to the pivot foot of Zach August. Does he drag the pivot? I think Ed Cooley's reaction would tell you he thought he did. He rim runs, right, Zach August. He establishes that left. And not necessarily a great look. There was some contact there. Let's see if this angle shows it. He dragged it initially. And so, but if you don't blow the whistle when he first dragged it, then of course you're going to call him and put him right here. So I thought they missed the call early. It doesn't matter. It puts 3 points on the board.
Here's Coach Cooley. Has his club off to a terrific start to the year at 4-0. And he has big plans for this team. He says by February we'll be a much different, much better team. They're already pretty good right now. August with a rebound, 1 and done for the Friars.
Ben Bentel has checked in for Carson DeRozier.
Pat Connaughton fouled, and he'll get a chance for 3.
You're talking about a big-time athlete right there in Pat Connaughton, and a big-time rebounder. He is 6'5" as a guard. How about Vistoria putting that pass on the money and the athleticism to make that play? Doesn't this look like and feel like a Mike Bray coached Irish team?
It surely does. And that young man spent his summer being an Aberdeen Ironbird. He was a professional baseball player after the Orioles drafted him in the 4th round in June. He's a pitcher. Spent a couple of months in the New York Penn League, but he is so focused on basketball, Doris, he does not want to veer towards baseball full-time until he has exhausted every possibility that he can, both at Notre Dame and in professional basketball, playing hoops.
Some sloppy basketball here by the Friars. Some poor decision-making through the first couple of minutes. Let the game come to you, Doug Sherman. It will unfold before you if you don't press up on it.
Connaughton drops it off to August. And it's Notre Dame basketball as Jalen Lindsey could not corral it. Our first media timeout. We'll step away with the Irish up by 6.
This guy's too talented. It's going to be a long day for Providence. They don't do a better job pressuring Jaren Grant.
Right there, and many times he looks like a football quarterback in a pocket that's well-defined with no pressure. He can just pick you apart.
You got to make him uncomfortable.
Here's the other terrific game management player for the Friars, Chris Dunn, trying to free himself of Jackson. Shot was hit, but down with an ankle is Jalen Lindsey. He landed on the defender's foot. And just now getting back to the action. Pastoria no. Ben Bentel with the rebound.
Ed Cooley is trying to draw the attention of the official to Jalen Lindsey, who's barely able to put any pressure on his foot.
Harris is fouled. Will go to the line, and that'll give the Friars an opportunity to get Lindsey out of the ballgame. Well, he has been so good here this weekend, knocking down shots. He had 15 points on 5 of 6 shooting yesterday, Doris. And then Lindsay today knocks down his first 3, but unfortunately landed awkwardly.
Oh, yeah. Listen, this guy, they are so excited about his shooting ability. You see that a lot in the NBA where, you know, shooters will complain about exactly that. The defender that close and not a dirty play by any stretch, don't get me wrong, but they always worry about their landing space in the NBA because of that exact situation.
One shot.
Harris gets a pair, and after Notre Dame rattled off 6 straight points, the Friars answer with 5 of their own.
Good response. I just thought, and I knew in the window of the timeout, Ed Cooley would look at Chris Dunn and simply say, hey, let's relax. I know you're excited to play. This is going to be a high-level game. Let it come to you.
Jackson's quick first step right to the rim, and a 3rd opportunity for a 3-point play for Notre Dame already.
Yeah, listen, Demetrius Jackson has taken a major step forward. You know, he came into Notre Dame with a big-time reputation, looks off the screen, goes right to the rack. This is where his specialty is. Look at the upper body of this guard. I mean, you get him near the rim, he'll be able to play right through contact. He's got great burst. Mike Bray has simplified the game. He said, stay in your box. You're a great driver, run the team, and guard like crazy.
And the guy he beat off the bounce there is Chris Dunn, who, according to his coach, could be the best on-ball defender in the country.
Yeah. Can't be peeking about where that screen is. Just guard. It's up to your teammates to communicate.
Junior Lumumba is into the game for the first time for Providence. Dunn with a lot of contact, able to find Bentel for 2.
Yeah, nice job navigating into the lane. That's why paint touches is so important. Whether you get a paint touch on a post pass or a guard driving, it just makes the game easier for everybody else.
Connaughton from Grant for 3.
I tell you, he can really get it going with range as a perimeter shooter. I like the way Pat Connaughton carries himself, right? He carries himself like a big-time athlete.
Well, he is a professional athlete in another sport, and you're right, he carries himself as such. He's got 200 friends and family members here this weekend rooting him on. He's one of the 3 Massachusetts kids, and so I don't think if I were playing here, I would know 200 people to come watch.
That guy's the toughest guy in a black jersey, LaDontae Henton. You know what he does? He just scores and boards. Whatever you need LaDontae Henton to provide, he will provide it.
And he provided it in spades yesterday. 19 of his 24 points coming in the second half in the rout of Florida State. He also had 10 rebounds.
Going to get an offensive foul on the screen. LaDontae Henton, the lefty, the southpaw, just a little shimmy shake left, got that defender leaning, the efficient dribble into a mid-range jumper. I mean, just, does he not look like a senior?
He does. 28 career double-doubles. First recruit for Ed Cooley when he took the job. And he wasn't sure he's going to be able to get him, but he has been a major contributor right from the day he got there as a freshman. He will be the guy you remember, Doris, at your alma mater when you look back and say that's when they got it going.
Oh, yeah.
Henton was the foundation player.
Came into the season, 101 games played, 100 starts.
And who are they going to credit that one to? Clearly. Well, that'd be the easiest 2 points for LaDontae Henton ever. After he throws up a brick, he gets 2 points.
Be a blocking foul on Harris. And the crowd obviously reacts. How about this? Listen, it's not going to have any asterisk next to the hoop. It'll just say LaDontae Henton 2 points, even though it should go to Beecham.
There's the man who could not get that basketball, instead put it in the wrong hoop.
An own goal.
An own goal, exactly. Here's a good look at young Jaren Grant, 6'5", 204-pound senior from Bowie, Maryland, who, according to Mike Bray, telling me on Friday night, he used last spring semester when he was dismissed for academic reasons as though he were a professional basketball player with the way he worked out. He didn't just go home and hang out. Couldn't go to school anywhere, so he went, found his uncle out on the West Coast, Uncle Horace, worked out with him, worked out with his father. Of course, his older brother is already in the NBA with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Irish dropped into a zone here. An active zone, but a zone nonetheless.
I beg your pardon. Younger brother Jeremy out of Syracuse for the 76ers, and he used those resources to get himself better, and we have seen that here early in the season for Notre Dame.
There will be a time where it is his profession, and he had all the time to make it his profession last spring.
Here goes another young man whose brother is in the NBA, the brother of Tobias Harris of the Orlando Magic. This is Tyler Harris.
Yeah, to me, he's a natural scorer, and he can do it a lot of different ways. He can stretch you with the 3-ball. He can go off the dribble.
Tied 17 apiece. Beecham, little floater in the lane.
It just looks totally different. So much more confident does he look. It's funny, you know, you need the guys around him to put him in good spots. Beecham, he does a good job there just creating his own opportunity. You can tell the kid's got talent.
Henton fouled, and he will shoot 2 free throws when we come back. And when we come back, we'll have a health update on a Florida State player who was taken away in our earlier game to the hospital. Friars with Doris Burke. I'm Doug Sherman, and we're pleased to report to you that the scene, for those of you who may have been watching us up on ESPNU earlier, that Aaron Thomas, the star player for Florida State, they have told us that he was taken to the hospital because of what they believe to be dehydration.
He's their leading returning scorer. They played the entire second half without him. He was not productive in the first half. We knew because of the way he was playing something wasn't right, but good news for them. We were concerned. They had no idea initially, couldn't get word to us just other than he didn't feel well. Thankfully, when we saw him go off in the ambulance, he was conscious, he was moving, and so we were hopeful for good news.
And we also understand that Aaron Thomas will be able to travel back to Tallahassee with the team, so good news all the way around as they head home to FSU. In our second game here on ESPN2 this afternoon, you've got the Fighting Irish with a 2-point lead at the line. LaDante Henton shooting 2 for Providence.
Former Big East combatants facing off yet again.
With all the conference realignment, Doris, it's hard for these events. We're getting 8 teams together to not have 2 teams who are league rivals match up. And they make the fields 2 and 3 and 4 years in advance. And so we have both Florida State and Notre Dame in here. They didn't play in this event, but 2 ACC schools. And like you say, these 2 teams, when this field was put together, were Big East combatants. Notre Dame in its 2nd year in the ACC. August. Working on DeRozier. Nice double team. Back out to Vestoria with 5 to shoot. Strong to the offensive glass. For the rebound is Austin Burgett. August. Nothing but net.
A 3rd offensive rebound for the Irish leads to another second chance point. And back to the zone they go. A little 2-3. See Beecham communicating.
DeRozier drops it off nicely.
How about that pass? Not a ton of space. Really good find. He made that look easy. When there's that little spacing and that many bodies around, that is not easy.
August backing down. Missed the wild reverse. Here comes Chris Dunn. Redshirt sophomore from New London, Connecticut, just a few minutes away from where we are here in Uncasville. And he actually used to play pickup ball on this court against members of the Connecticut Sun from the WNBA. Dunn turns it over, though, back to the Irish. Grant the pull-up. A little short. Harris grabs the rebound. Providence with a chance to take the lead, down 21-20. Harris from the foul line. So after starting the game only 2 of 5 from the floor, Doris, the Friars are now 7 for their last 11.
Yeah, good job. I'm telling you, Tyler Harris is a natural scorer.
Off the pick and pop, Connaughton misses on his drive.
A little out of control there.
Henton for 3. Harris fights for the basketball. He's tied up by Burgett.
Well, the Irish are switching up their defense between a man and a zone. This one against a zone, and depending on whose perspective, watch that screen. The two Friars, if you're Mike Bray, it's a hold. If you're Ed Cooley, it's excellent execution. That is a design play, and they're using 2 bodies to screen to get Carson DeRozier's a catch.
DeRozier is a man who spent his first 2 years at Wake Forest and did pretty well defensively. He blocked a lot of shots.
Yeah.
Nobody at Wake blocked more shots as a freshman than him than Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan's the only guy who had more. But it's how much can he give you on the offensive end?
Correct. He's smart. He's experienced. You know what it is on the offensive end? I don't think it's for a lack of skill. I think it's for a lack of aggressive mentality. Ed Cooley is after Carson to go ahead and be assertive offensively. That's a reach from behind. Absolutely a foul on Chris Dunn. The Friar players don't have to plead their innocence because the crowd is doing it for them.
Second foul on Dunn, and so he will check out. Junior Lumumba, the sophomore from Montreal, comes back in.
2 fouls. Now, how long do you sit him? Because Cartwright is an outstanding player, but the Providence College Friars feel completely different without Dunn.
How about Jackson?
Whew. How about that crossover? That's by design. Mike Bray clears one side of the floor, lets his attacking point guard with an outstanding handle just go right to work on Cartwright.
At 6'1", he went up strong. DeRozier high-low to Henton.
Wow.
That's stripped out of bounds by Jackson.
That is unbelievable hands by Demetrius Jackson.
Well, is this a SportsCenter top 10 worthy play for Demetrius Jackson? He's got 7 points on 3 of 5 shooting, and none more spectacular than the killer crossover which led to the throwdown that put the Irish back on top. We'll come back and show you that in Uncasville in just a moment. Thank you, Jamie. Demetrius Jackson as a freshman backed up Eric Atkins. Now as a sophomore, he is coming into his own.
Boy, he looked off the screen from Zach August. You can see the reaction from his teammate. How about that finish up in the air?
Hashtag SC Top 10. That certainly is worthy of consideration for the young man out of Mishawaka, Indiana. Actually born in South Bend. He was born to play for the Fighting Irish.
See, it's not just about physical ability, because Demetrius Jackson had that physical ability a year ago. It's as much about his confidence now and how he handles himself. That tour to Italy where he established himself was crucial to what he's doing out of the gates.
How about that no look?
Oh.
August, the recipient of the brilliant pass from Grant.
Don't let Mr. Grant come up the floor with a head of steam. You better impede his progress far before he gets near the paint, or he's going to make you look silly defensively.
Coach Bray was telling me on Friday night he thinks that Jaren Grant projects as a mid-late first-round pick as things stand right now.
Big guard with size, plays with great pace. You don't speed him up. Can make perimeter jump shots. There's tons to like about Grant's game.
3 by Henton reties the game for the 4th time here this afternoon. Coverage of the Puerto Rico tip-off continues on ESPN2 tonight at 6:30 Eastern with a championship game. It's the defending national champion UConn Huskies against the Mountaineers of West Virginia. Burgett, strong finish.
Well, he's got some players off the bench who are contributing. Burgett, Beecham.
And Burgett played 12 minutes, scored only 2 points, but they were a valuable 12 minutes in that win yesterday afternoon. Best rebounder on this Irish squad pulls down another one, Pat Connaughton. Grant for three. Not quite in rhythm that time. Lob to Harris. The left-hander couldn't corral it, and so it goes back to Notre Dame.
So you think about the Irish a year ago, and you lose Jeremy Grant, okay, about a third of the way through the season, okay? This guy has 9 single-digit losses, even without this guy as a dynamic playmaker. Think about it. He was 19 points, 6 assists when the Irish get out of the gates to start the year. 9 single-digit losses, and some tough ones. And there's one game against Virginia in particular that comes to mind as the Friars now drop into his zone. I think that was a very difficult year on Mike Brey. He's not accustomed to losing.
Well, in his 15th season at Notre Dame, he just continues to rack up the victories. They are 4-0 this season at the moment. Jackson again strong to the goal, and somehow gets it to go.
That's a tough shot right there.
9 to lead all scores. Notre Dame's lead is back to 4.
How about this backcourt with Grant and Jackson? They are going to be a handful.
Bentel for three.
They are super high on Bentel. There are times in practice where he's the best player on the floor. And that's saying something when you've got Chris Dunn and LaDontae Hinton.
Bentel, a 6'8" freshman from Wilmington, Delaware. Burgett, no. There's Bentel with a rebound.
You can see the frame he's got. He's got strength to carve out space, athleticism to go get it. Bentel is going to be a good one.
Well, he had considered joining the Miami Hurricanes, recruited heavily by North Carolina State, but he wound up coming to the Big East. Hinton for three. Timeout on the floor. Very quietly, LaDontae Hinton, 13 points, and he's got the Friars back up by 2.
Rush hour around here starts at 6:30 a.m. on the nose. But for me, it starts with the opening bell. And the rush I get lasts way more than an hour.
At Scottrade, we share your passion for trading. That's why we've built powerful technology to alert you to your next opportunity. Because at Scottrade, our passion is to power yours.
Back in Uncasville, Connecticut, the Providence Friars are the defending Big East Conference champions, and they certainly should contend again this year.
Think about the makeup of this conference. Of course, you add Creighton. That was the team that Providence upset in the Big East final. Of course, Doug McDermott ended a brilliant career at Creighton, but DePaul, Georgetown, Marquette.
It's not the same as it was when you and I were around.
No.
But it still is a very, very viable group of teams.
And the Friars drop into their own zone. Some of the threes Hinton has made have been walk-up threes, staying spaced against the Irish zone. Who will make shots here? And another illegal screen trying to free up the guards. This one on Burgett.
His first, and just the 4th on the Fighting Irish.
Just such that tendency to lean or stick the hip out at the very last moment on those screens. Both teams trying to go to 5-0 today.
Harris, quick spin to the baseline.
See what I mean? He's a natural scorer. He can make threes. We saw him go off the drive and make a mid-range pull-up. That time, Ed Cooley likes the matchup, gets him down on the post. and he has a feel, an understanding. He just slips right off the initial defender. This is just a guy with a knack for putting it in the bucket. Goes right by Vastoria, keeps it away from the defense. And Providence.
Jamie, thank you. Mike Bray brought his Fighting Irish from the Midwest to New England, knowing he's going to face two good opponents yesterday and today. UMass yesterday, Providence today. And he was wondering, after they had played 3 home games, can we stay in character? Can we guard? Can we rebound away from home? And yesterday we certainly saw that they can, and they're trying to do it here again today.
So interesting, the contrast between the game earlier today. Providence might get burned on a defensive breakdown here. Yeah. Great awareness by Pat Connaughton and a great use of his speed by Mr. Grant. But such a different feel, right? UMass and Florida State to find themselves on the defensive end. These two teams, really good offensive teams. How about that play? Nice little and one through contact.
First made field goal of the afternoon so far for Jaron Grant. Chris Dunn remains on the Providence bench with the 2 fouls. Kyron Cartwright running the point, guarded by Demetrius Jackson. Also getting our first look at Pascal Chukwu, a 7'2" freshman who played his high school ball at Fairfield Prep. Grant always with his head up. Terrific ball movement. Back to Grant. Skip pass to Vastoria. Skip pass to Connaughton. Eventually someone's got to be open.
So how many times did the ball change sides of the floor? If anybody watched the San Antonio Spurs play in the NBA championship, that possession was reflective of it. Let's just watch how many guys touch it and how many times it goes from side to side. So reverses there, that's twice. And then another cross-court pass. Vastoria goes back to the other side. They say spaced. And this is what I mean about a Mike Bray coach team, right? Whether man or zone, you can go 4 around 1. A year ago with Garrick Sherman playing such a part-time night, it was more a 2-post, more a patterned offense. He can go back to the system that has made him so successful with the pieces he has.
And Doris, in that sequence, the basketball only hit the floor twice. Coverage of the EA Sports Maui Invitational begins Monday at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN2 with Purdue taking on Kansas State. Tough assignment.
Was in Maui once for that tournament. I wouldn't mind going back.
Why did you come back?
I rethink it, living in New England every January, February, and March.
One of our colleagues, Sean McDonough, always makes sure to get out to the Maui Classic about 5 or 6 days in advance just to make sure he is well prepared to call the game.
He's acclimated.
Yes. Henton, he has made 3 straight threes.
I tell you, against the zone, you have got to find him and contest going out on his left hand.
Well, he can score them in bunches. 19 in the second half yesterday, 16 and counting here in the first half today. 6 of 9 from the floor. Grant. And Jackson with 8 seconds to shoot, reloads. Vastoria. August, little Euro step, and he draws the foul.
That's frustrating, and you've got to understand that both Connaughton and Vastoria will go to the glass. And they're getting ahead of steam, right? They're going from 15 or 16 feet. So you've got to go find them and put a body on.
Second foul on DeRozier. August at the line. And Doris, even though Steve Vastoria was not the guy you're going to talk about coming out of yesterday's game, I liked what he did. 7.7 rebounds, 4 steals in helping win the Minutemen, or beat the Minutemen. And it was not a loud or flashy game. It's just him doing his thing.
I love Vastoria. I think the kid's he's a Jersey kid, so I'm a Jersey kid. I like his toughness. I like how fearless he is. He's a big shot maker, Vastoria. There are guys, as you know, drift far to the baseline when there's a shot that needs to be made, like Henton on the other side. LaDante Henton doesn't shy away from a big moment. Vastoria the same way.
2 minutes to go in the half. The Friars with the basketball, up by 2.
Doesn't come as easy, though, for the Friars when Chris Dunn's not on the floor, does it?
No. Cartwright has 3 of the 17 turnovers so far today. There's another.
I think this is great experience for Providence, though. I mean, there are going to be times for Ed Cooley's team when they're tested, when Chris Dunn is going to get in foul trouble. And so this unit, without him on the floor, has got to carve its identity and figure out how it's going to score. It's part of the process.
Although I would hazard a guess that Coach Cooley has seen enough of working without Chris Dunn over the last 2 years. But you're absolutely right for this group. Connaughton, offensive foul.
Turnover by the Irish. The Friars have 8 turnovers. A lot of them from trying to do too much. And think about the early possessions for Ed Cooley's team where Chris Dunn was flying through the lane. Cartwright has had a couple.
So Connaughton picks up his 2nd personal foul. And so he takes a seat. Austin Burgett back into the lineup for the Fighting Irish. And this is kind of a Dunkin' Donuts Center South feel, at least when the Friars are going good. Without Chris Dunn, things have flattened out a little bit, both on the court and up in the stands.
Crowd needs a shot of caffeine.
There you go.
Teams don't just need you when in moments of prosperity. They need you in these moments, nip and tuck. Well, we haven't had the tryptophan. We're 4 days away from Turkey. There's no tryptophan in our bodies.
Here's the young man who leads everybody in scoring so far this afternoon. He'll get a chance for 2. Henton from Lansing, Michigan. He originally signed with the Dayton Flyers, but with a coaching change at Dayton, he wound up changing his mind and coming on board with Coach Cooley.
Comes from very tough circumstances, has overcome an awful lot in his background, LaDante Henton. One thing you know about him, he is embracing everything about college basketball. We'll develop that story a little bit in the second half.
Lomamba with the tough defensive assignment, trying to keep Grant from doing what he does. Nice job defensively. Bento. And now the shot clock is off. Grant attacks. Jackson. Providence basketball.
So now Bento has that 3 ability. Chris Dunn going to come back in for the offensive possession. He's got to be careful not to pick up an offensive foul. So because you're going down in a 1-possession ball game, you make a couple of key substitutions to get more offense on the floor. Bancroft hit some shots yesterday at the end of the game. But to me, Bento comes out like he's capable of making the 3, but that was that could have been a 4-point swing because he quick shot the basketball in transition, time and score. Even in these moments, it's important.
We saw him do the same thing yesterday and immediately got the hook from Coach Cooley as well. Final 10 seconds. Dunn. Air ball. It goes out of bounds, untouched.
That was not done right.
And so now number 3 will head back to the bench as number 3 for Notre Dame comes back in, V.J. Beecham.
Why'd you give me that exasperated look?
Me?
Yeah. Where you catch this determines if you can get a quality shot.
Beecham does not get a quality shot. Had Harris right there with him. An entertaining first half. Ed Cooley takes the jacket off. He's going to work in the halftime locker room. 39-35 our score. Let's go to Jamie Sire with the Land Rover halftime report. Welcome back to the Basketball Hall of Fame tip-off. Jalen Lindsey 1 minute into his game, rolled his ankle while making a three-point shot, and we see him now emerge from the Providence locker room on crutches, and now it looks like his afternoon is done. And welcome back, everybody, along with former Providence Friars guard Doris Burke. I'm Doug Sherman. Glad you could be here with us to see two teams that really do share the basketball. We have seen it on both ends.
Two dynamic playmakers in Grant and Dunn, but one of the possessions that really caught our attention was this. Right off the pick and roll goes Mr. Grant. Watch how many times the ball changes sides of the floor. This was a very San Antonio Spurs-like possession. You know, older guys, experienced guys, the ones that Mike Brey typically wins with, unselfish, no rush. Jaren Grant, just a special athlete in transition, so dangerous. On the other end, boy, I think one of the most underrated players in the entire country. LaDonte Hinton has stepped into the Friar lineup from the moment he stepped on campus and has done nothing but board it and score it. He's a dangerous three-point shooter. You do not close out on this guy. He is going to make your life tough.
Here's a look at our first half stats brought to you by Nike. The Friars shooting extremely well. Hinton a big part of that.
No question. The difference in this ball game has really come down to the difference in three-point percentage, because free throws pretty much even. It's a few more made threes for Providence.
Nice cut. Done off the feed from the big fella, Carson DeRozier.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Carson DeRozier has offensive ability. As a scorer and as a passer, I just think he needs to assert himself more.
Now that's a sign of a good head coach or assistant coach coming out of the locker room with that set that works so well.
Well, one, it does two things for you. It gets you an easy look. It also reestablishes Chris Dunn, who sat for quite some time. I know he came in for the final possession, but it gets him right back into it.
However, he just picked up his third personal foul and is likely headed back to the bench.
You run a two-post at the top of the key, two-elbow situation. You lift the defense. He gets an easy basket. Does Ed Cooley make a sub here? It doesn't look like he's going to his bench.
So for the moment, Chris Dunn stays on the floor. August. Crowd wanted to travel. Lob it inside. Nice job by August to seal off DeRozier. Passes out of the double team. Connaughton. Grant for the follow.
Boy, second chance opportunities. Again, Vastoria keeping it alive. Vastoria has taken a page out of Pat Connaughton's book. Go to the glass.
6'5" sophomore from Medford, New Jersey. Harris, Dunn, DeRozier, Hinton, and Cartwright, the starting five again in the second half for Providence. Monday night, Joe Flacco and the Ravens visit the Superdome to take on Drew Brees and the Saints. Monday at 8:15 on ESPN, and watch ESPN. No other night is Monday night.
Two Super Bowl winning quarterbacks on Monday night. How about our boy Mike Tirico with the commercial and the shades looking tough?
Mike knows how to get it done.
He does.
For the Irish, Grant, Connaughton, Vastoria, Jackson, and August on the floor. Here's August. Foul on DeRozier.
See, now there have been times I thought DeRozier has fouled him and not been called. In this particular instance, I thought he played pretty good defense. Obviously, we get the benefit of the window, the replay. To me, that's a non-foul. You're saying if he goes chest to chest with him, it's a bad call. That's the third foul now on DeRozier. That changes things. That's going to get Ben Bentel up and off the Providence bench.
Bentel in, DeRozier out with those three fouls as August looks to make a pair of free throws. And we saw in Zach August in the second half yesterday, did what his coach has been telling him right along. Just keep it simple.
Right.
Catch the ball, finish, don't try and do too much, and he's been able to do that.
He actually turned to one of his assistants and said, if he doesn't rebound in the second half, he's not playing. No better teacher than Lapine, right? Guys will sit up and take notice.
Nice job by Harris to gather in that pass and then go right to the bucket.
He's so slippery. I'm telling you, just see, now you don't teach that, because guys who go on the move with bodies around them, you got to have a court awareness where I am, because that was not an easy angle shot to take.
August. Connaughton, another offensive rebound. Here goes Grant, going to work. Behind the back, the reverse layup.
Ball's on a string. That is a guy who's comfortable with the right or the left.
Timeout called. Grant now with 8 points. He's got his team back within 2, trailing Providence 43-41.
Navigating tight spaces with multiple defenders. He gets one defender sealed up high. The one from the wing closes. He's got to navigate that one. The post player drops down to give assistance. And somehow, in the midst of 3 white jerseys for the Irish, Tyler Harris finds a tough basket.
He's got himself 13 points. Young man from Long Island, New York, who was originally recruited to Providence by Ed Cooley's predecessor, Keno Davis, unsuccessfully. He did make it on campus for a recruiting visit, ultimately went to North Carolina State, played a little bit as a freshman, and then transferred to Providence, and has really taken big steps in each of the last 2 years. Here he is, drawing a double team.
3 lefties on the Providence roster, 2 on one side of the floor right now. And goes right to his strong hand, that left hand, LaDontae Hampton. Yes, I can make threes. I can also beat you off the bounce. He's got 20. How about that? It's unusual to have so many southpaws. You put him in a 2-man game on one side of the floor. It's a little unorthodox as a defender.
He's a guy who Ed Cooley cannot say the word love about enough. I love that guy. I love him. I love that guy.
There's Vastoria. He went over in the first half. Vastoria was in this game, came into this game 6 for 12 from deep. He's a heck of a shooter. Short memory. They are now 3 for 13 from 3.
And with that, we've got ourselves a 1-point ball game.
Good adjustment. Wow.
Harris left it short. He does have a tendency to get a little flat on the jump shot and on the free throw. Story with Harris all over him. Now to find August. He's got the basketball now. Backing down Bentel. Connaughton. How about the toughness to make that catch and get the shot up to the rim? Well, this is the Hall of Fame tip-off, and when we come back, we'll be talking Hall of Famers for the Irish and for the Friars. Just about enough of the basketball today.
Sometimes it's more than we can handle.
Well, look at the notables in the Basketball Hall of Fame for each of these schools. Lenny Wilkins, a 2-time Hall of Famer, both as a player and as a coach. That's John Thompson Jr., who played at Providence. Dave Gavitt, of course, the patriarch of the Providence program. And on the flip side for Notre Dame, how about Adrian Dantley?
Yeah.
I mean, he had an unbelievable career, both at Notre Dame and in the NBA. He's out of that DeMatha program, taught by Morgan Wooten. Also, Mike Bray is out of there as well, and he belongs just as well as anybody in Springfield.
You know, I wonder if things had ended differently in Detroit for AD. Would the public perception of him be any different? Because, man, that guy was a big-time scorer.
You're right. You don't think of him nearly as often as we probably should.
Correct. There's great players.
He could fill it up.
If you've ever seen that NBA roundtable they do, I think they call it Open Court on NBA
fantastic.
TV.
Fantastic.
You know, with the old guys, with the Isaiahs and the Charles Barkleys, AD's name will come up amongst that group.
Connaughton got 1 of 2 from the line, ties the ball game at 45 apiece. Chris Dunn playing with the 3 personal fouls. Henton, nice fake, finds an opening along the baseline and nestles it into the rim.
What do you notice about LaDante Henton? There's very little wasted movement, right? Everything is done efficiently. It's going to be an offensive foul, I believe, on Zach August. He gives a little wry smile as he goes the other way. But watch LaDante Henton, okay? Tyler Harris is going to collapse the defense. Pat is caught in a closeout. He knows it, so he lifts him with the shot fake. Doesn't over dribble, doesn't overpass. He's just taking what the defense gives him.
22 points so far here today for Henton. Dunn crosses over Connaughton into the corner. Lamamba misses.
Well, he does. That's a straight arrow, that jumper.
Notre Dame is always communicating. This veteran bunch don't get a good shot out of it by Grant.
Nice defense by Lamamba. He's just sticking with Grant.
Dunn, terrific look. Bentel, though, hit the bottom of the rim.
That just gets Ed Cooley just putting his hands over his eyes. He didn't want to look.
Offensive foul against Vastoria.
A couple of missed chippy opportunities here from both teams. Look at how easy Chris Dunn makes this opportunity. It's a lack of awareness where Bentel is, and there's the charge call. Listen, I do like the fact that they have reverted the block charge call back to the way it used to be, because last year when they made the change to those officials and they were trying to determine the upward motion of the player, for the first time in every official's career, he was actually looking at the offensive player in a block charge. You're going against years and years of refereeing instinct, so it's a good change back.
Henton left it short. Connaughton another rebound. Jackson. Under control.
Yeah. Just, you know, it's an underutilized thing, like jump stop and let's see where you're at.
We're deadlocked again, 47 apiece. Dunn finds the cutter. Bentel had to let him go.
You wondered, could Chris Dunn get a rhythm? You know, the foul trouble, sitting out. Well, he's just playing. Just play, Chris Dunn. You've got so much ability.
And give Coach Cooley credit for sticking with him in spite of the fact that he picked up his third personal in the first minute of the second half. Vastoria, nobody stepped over to pick him up.
Yeah, you know, you close out because you respect him so much as a shooter. He's so dangerous. You close out, he attacks that top foot.
Lamamba lost it. Providence will keep possession.
So you know Steve Vastoria is a dangerous three-point shooter, right? So he gets Tyler Harris reacting one way, goes right at him. And that is just really well done. You talked about how much Cooley loves Henton. Bray feels the same way about this guy.
Lamamba back to Dunn. Henton, Harris, and DeRozier filling out the Providence lineup, trying to retake the lead. Austin Burgett, the blocking foul. That's his first and the fourth against the Fighting Irish. Check that, his third personal and the fourth against the team. Coverage of the Puerto Rico tip-off continues on ESPN2 tonight at 6:30 Eastern with a championship game, the defending NCAA champion UConn Huskies against West Virginia.
Magical run for the Connecticut Huskies a year ago.
Who would have thought? It is remarkable when a team and a player get on a roll.
That's a big, big loss right now. Fourth foul, excuse me, for Chris Dunn. So with 12:24 in the game, locked at 49, he goes off a dribble drive and gets called for an offensive foul. His defender is in bad position, but the help defender was not. Jackson slipped, but watch Burgett react. Decision-making if you're Chris Dunn.
Jackson working down the lane, back to Grant. Beecham back into the game for the Irish. Five to shoot. Jackson, shovel pass, back out to Connaughton, the extra pass, and the three.
Another Spurs-like possession. Give up a good shot to get a great shot. Really good offense from the Irish. That was nicely done.
Now, is Jaron Grant looking at the shot clock at the other end of the floor? Is it an innate feel? How did he know he had just enough time?
Yeah, you wonder, did he take a peek at the clock at some point?
So I don't think there's any way he could have seen.
Looking up.
Looking up.
Yeah. Chris Dunn is down in the dumps. A little bit of over-penetration. He's going to find himself on the bench with number 4, Mike Bray, on the other end of things. The head coach feeling his team has an opportunity. And the Irish with a 3-point.
There's some of the emotion going on in the basketball game here in Uncasville, Connecticut. The local boy, Chris Dunn, on the bench with 4 personal fouls.
Nice job by Burgett to recognize his teammate was in trouble. He was in perfect help defensive position. That's one of the things Mike Bray talked about. You know, we think about his program, we think about offensive success. He thinks he's got better defenders because they all have better ability to move their feet on the defensive end, and Burgett just showed us how. That's a cheap foul away from the play that's not necessary. Is that their 7th or their 6th team foul?
So Burgett has fouled out.
Yeah, and that's their 7th. So now PC is shooting the bonus.
Looks like it's just the 6th
yeah.
team foul. Henton again with the touch. He's up to 24.
Has he delivered every big basket Providence has needed?
Pretty much.
Yeah. He goes about his business so quietly, LaDante Henton. This time going away from his strong hand, right? He's moving to his right, so he's got to put the ball back in his shooting pocket, so closer to the defender. He had to get enough space to get a clean look.
Connaughton traveling. A rare turnover today for the Irish. One thing about Henton, he has been so consistent. Through his first 3 years, Doris, he's averaged roughly 14 points, 8 rebounds every year, every game.
Yeah.
And then he has jumped the scoring total up this year, averaging 20 per game. He's tied his season high with 24 today, did the same yesterday. Harris glides to the basket again.
I tell you, they've worked that little 2-man game with those two on the same side of the floor on a couple of occasions, get a couple of buckets. Those two guys really difficult. Providence drops back into the zone. Crowd got a burst of energy off that Friar lead.
Beecham. Well, it must have gotten serious. Ed Cooley took his jacket off again.
Yeah.
LaDante Henton.
Big-time players understand there are moments where it's your time. You've got to go take the game by the horns and decide, okay, so Ed Cooley clears one side of the floor. He gets LaDante Henton a catch, but a catch moving to his strength, to his left hand, and in a one-on-one situation. And more than skill, LaDante Henton plays with will, and he just willed that basket in.
And that will, Doris, comes from a place far from here.
Yeah, he grew up in Lansing, Michigan with virtually nothing. Impoverished, lost his brother who was put in jail. Basically fending for himself for a long time. That's young and hungry, LaDante Henton.
Vastoria, a big three in response.
You see what I mean about this kid? Like, always the ball seems to find that guy when they need a bucket. And he doesn't blink, Steve Vastoria.
After missing 9 of 11 from beyond the arc in the first half, the Irish has made 3 of 4 here in the second. Henton contested Jay. DeRozier tips it back out. And a fresh shot clock for the Friars.
Saves a possession. You see Tyson Chandler do that so often in the NBA. If you can't get it, see if you can tip it to a teammate. This has been an entertaining game.
Providence enjoyed a 4-point halftime lead. Cartwright misses. Notre Dame with it with a chance to retake the lead. We've had 7 ties, 8 lead changes, and counting.
They're calling this pretty tight, yes?
Yes. Like Connaughton initiated that contact right there. The defender had nowhere to go.
Steve Vastoria was 0 for 3 in the first half, 0 for 2. And it comes out firing. Short memory for a solid shooter.
Long rebound. Vastoria saves to Connaughton. Nice job by the Notre Dame staff to keep Mike Brey upright.
Just getting out hustled right now. The pursuit of the basketball from the Irish has been better.
Good hustle by Harris, but he picks up the foul. Who says college basketball games in November don't matter?
Yeah. So both teams in the bonus from here on out.
Both with 7, so Grant shooting the 1-and-1. Only 8 points so far today. Make it 9. He had 4 at the break, now 5 here in the second half.
Both teams with plenty of timeouts as we move deeper and deeper into this basketball game, since neither has gotten separation. No huge momentum swings either way today. So both guys with plenty of timeouts at their disposal.
And Doris, Providence has now gone more than 4 minutes with Chris Dunn on the bench with those 4 fouls.
And another turnover. See, I'd bring him back soon. I think Ed Cooley's probably waiting for the under 8 timeout is my guess. If there's a stoppage in play when you go back on the offensive end, do you get him in? It'll probably be underneath the timeout, and he'll be back in anyway.
Demetrius Jackson. Grant keeps the dribble. Strong to the bucket, and he'll go back to the foul line. Well, we've reached the under 8 timeout. Will Chris Dunn come back out of this break for the Friars, who are trailing Notre Dame by 1?
See, Connaughton to me as a player is underrated as well.
The EA Sports Maui Invitational Championship game comes your way Wednesday at 10 Eastern on ESPN. It's all part of the Journey to the Tourney presented by Sonic.
How about the play of Pat Connaughton? Guy's got 13 points, 11 boards, 2 on the offensive end.
How about that guy? What is that, Doris? This is your alma mater. What is that?
That's a Friar. I'd say we struggle with our mascot and how best to represent it. I'll take the dancing Irishman over that guy any day of the week.
Well, I must admit,
yeah.
You've got limited options to come up with.
Let me just say I love the Leprechaun. When I was a kid, I was a huge Notre Dame football fan. I mean, absolutely huge.
Well, the Irish right now in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. A lot of the Irish fans have been in the building here this weekend, not very happy about the state of affairs in South Bend. Henton.
Buckets. And big-time buckets. What I say earlier, whenever they need a bucket, it's LaDante Hinton who delivers. And well, they elect not to come back with Chris Dunn. See, it's still a possession ball game, so Ed Cooley is just buying time.
August off the feed from Grant.
And sometimes it's about give it to number 22 and get the heck out of the way because he's going to make the right plays.
And if you're one of his teammates, he just breeds confidence.
Yes.
You know he's going to get you the ball in the right spots.
You play with your chest out when you play next to Mr. Grant because he's going to make you feel good and look good.
And it was a loss last year they just could not overcome. He makes everybody else better.
And a little frustration for Ed Cooley on that possession. They were a long way from the rim at 13 ticks on the clock, so now he brings Chris Dunn back in. I'll be honest with you, he just bought him another minute or so. I'd be so impatient as a coach to want the ball in Chris Dunn's hands that I would have put him back in right away.
Doris, I'm having trouble though. I got to go back to the Friar. You've got to help me with this. There's no way.
Stop killing my Friar. I get it. He's bad.
Now, I'm a Syracuse person, and Otto the Orange certainly takes his share of abuse, rightly so. Yeah. But the Friar,
we used to have, I forget what they call that piece of metal that women used to wear underneath their dress to make their, the skirt look really full.
I wouldn't know things
So when
like
I
that.
was at Providence, we had a rather wide Friar. I don't think the clergy at Providence really liked that representation, so that went out the window. We're still searching. Now you better back off.
All right.
All right.
And I will assume the next Syracuse game you and I do together, you can get after me about Otto.
Exactly. All right, so where are you going here? I would say Chris is going to make the play initially. I would assume they're not going to send him off the dribble drive. Maybe put him on the same side of the floor as LaDante Hinton. There you go.
Hinton 11 for 15, now 11 for 16. Did you like the shot they got there?
Yeah, a little stagger. LaDante's feeling it, so I'm not going to question his shot selection. Little stagger. LaDante relocates. And remember, there were 13 ticks on the clock, so I don't think there was anybody else you wanted shooting it, so I'm okay with it.
Grant with Harris on him. Now off the screen, DeRozier helps. Vastoria for 3. It's a 6-point ball game.
So now the key here, if you're Providence, you don't have to get this all back at once. It's a 6-point lead. There's so much time left. Just run your offense. Get to your second and third options.
All 5 Notre Dame starters, Doris, now in double figures.
Yeah, really well balanced group. An unselfish group.
Dunn calls for the screen. He's got an open look, but can't bury it. One and done. And now Notre Dame will walk it up. Providence has only 3 offensive rebounds this entire game. Pick and roll.
Again,
Mamba called for the foul.
Yep. It's just been a very tight whistle. Players have got to adjust.
And how about Ed Cooley? He is a different man than the one hired 4 years ago.
Yeah.
131 pounds he has lost in the last year and a half, and he has changed his diet, changed his life. He says it makes me a better man, a better husband, better coach.
No, I don't think there's any question in all of those areas. The healthier you are, the more energy you have. He makes a point of running every single day. I mean, he looks like a different person.
Yeah, he looks like the person he was back in college when he was a good player at Stonehill College back in the early 90s. Said he's back to his playing weight. And you know what else it makes him better at? He's a better dresser.
No question. Those expensive suits look a little bit different.
His Friars now down by 8.
Get a little better selection if you're Ed Cooley when you're not shopping at that XL destination or
I would
big
imagine
and
that's
tall.
the case. Get a nice contract extension, win a Big East championship, feel good about yourself, and looking good too. Well, this is the largest lead of the ball game, 66-58. Big free throws here on a 1-and-1 for DeRozier. Friars have only been to the line 9 times now, 8 out of 9. That's half the total that the Irish have.
You think about their dynamic playmaker, who was the guy who can get them to the free throw line or get there himself. Chris Dunn, he spent a lot of time on the bench. And then Bentel will come in. He'll replace DeRozier, put a little pressure on the basketball, a more athletic, active defender.
Well, you've got 3 steady hands out there handling the basketball for Notre Dame. Jackson, the sophomore, and then the 2 seniors.
That shot did not think it touched a Friar. Let's see. Yeah. So what did you do? That's a really quick substitution that made a huge difference, right? DeRozier comes out. You put Bentel on the front of the press. You make the Irish go fast here.
Hard
That's
to tell.
tough to tell.
Hard to tell.
Yeah.
And there's Mr. Dunn. That is well done.
Yeah, yeah, it certainly is. That's a big swing. It's a 4-point swing. Let's see how the Irish respond here.
And there's Dunn stepping into the passing lane, but he could not come up with the ball. 5-on-4, it's Vastoria. Out of bounds, Zach August, and the crowd is re-engaged. Now DeRozier in, Bentel back out.
A terrific hustle and pursuit of the ball, just a little bit too close to the end line. I think Mike Bray going to use some timeout here. And I like the timeout because what's happened the last couple of possessions? Playing a little bit faster than you want, so you just, if you're Mike Bray, take your time, settle down, set your defense. Remind your guys, hey, our offense is pretty good when we move the ball and move the defense.
Yep.
And you know, he made the point to me yesterday. I ran into him after his game, and he said, boy, he goes, Ed has done a nice job at Providence. He said, he's raised the talent level there. You could tell he had some concern about matching up against Providence today.
There's the Notre Dame class breakdown for you. The 2 seniors who we've talked so much about. 3 juniors, 4 sophomores, 4 freshmen. Pretty good distribution right there.
No question about it. When his teams have been good, though, he wins with older guys who are productive, like Grant, like Connaughton.
And that makes a big difference in college basketball.
Oh,
I mean, you've got 22 and 23-year-olds playing against 18 and 19-year-olds. You inherently have an advantage.
Correct.
We see it all the time. It plays out in the NCAA tournament quite often, as Dunn had his shot deflected by August.
A heck of a defensive play, because that looked like it was going to be a layup. Oh, what a move. What a pullback to get separation by Grant. He's got his hands on the sides of his face. He couldn't believe it.
I mean, he had a good 10 feet. Harris was almost off the baseline off of that move, but he could not finish the play. Final 4 minutes ahead, 66-62 Notre Dame. We're back in Uncasville, Connecticut. Providence trailing Notre Dame 66-62. The Reese's perfect play.
Well, LaDante Hinton has got 29 points. I just love the efficiency with which he goes about his business. No wasted dribbles, doesn't over-penetrate. Just a nice smart, uses Carson DeRozier as a little bit of interference to shake Jaren Grant. 29 points, just 2 boards for him.
On 11 of 16 shooting, very efficient. You know, his coach says, I will hire that guy the moment he stops playing basketball. But I have a feeling he's not going to stop playing basketball for a number of years.
Yeah. And they've, you know, the one thing the Irish have done here in the second half, he got loose for some walk-up threes in the first. The Friars without a 3-point field goal here in the second.
The big free throws for Carson DeRozier. Now he goes back out. Bentel returns.
This allows them to get into their pressing unit, be athletic, try to turn them over.
The ball is in the hands of Jaren Grant.
Or give it to the one-man press break right
Why
there.
not? And as soon as he got it, the Friars backed off. Pastoria's pass deflected. Providence with a chance to tie or take the lead, but they nearly throw it away. Here goes Henton.
Wow.
66 apiece.
That is a big-time play, and somebody went flying. Oh, Chris Dunn goes flying.
He obviously landed wrong and never got back up. And so the young man who has endured 2 shoulder surgeries in the last 2.5 years since arriving at Providence is on the floor having that right leg worked on. And so what was euphoria in the building?
Yeah, Dr. Perini has been a long-time Providence College team doctor attending to Chris. Kid can't have this much bad luck, can he?
You hope not.
Try to get word to you about what that is exactly. I mean, he's just grabbing the mid-shin area.
So Dunn will head to the bench, and he will indeed head to the locker room. But not before turning and watching his teammates. He's just taking a walk now behind the bench. He wants to see what's going on, even though it looks like they want him to head to the locker room. And now indeed he is in the tunnel. Under 10 to shoot. Grant for the lead. He's got it.
That's with a defender, a big defender, closing to give a little contest. That is a big-time play.
Our 10th lead change. 2:40 remaining. Tyler Harris, a big 2.
He reminds you of Tayshaun Prince, long-armed, creative scorer, and there is no question he was going right at Steve Vastoria because he liked the matchup. He knew he could get a shot over the top of him.
Here goes Grant again.
Give him the ball and get out of the way. That burst of speed, recognizing it's his time.
He saw the defense turn its head for a split second, and he took off for the basket.
The best players have got to understand it's my time to take over. So Little jab step at Bentel, gets him backed off because he's afraid of the drive. This time a little overcommit. Lumumba thinks that there's help coming. He's forcing him baseline. Teammates never react to it. Why you would be that open in your stance if you're Lumumba, I don't know, because a guy can drive left and right. You had to square him off.
So Grant makes him pay, puts the lead back to 3, and that is a tremendous sight to see Chris Dunn walking back onto the floor, albeit with a little limp. Let's see what he can give his Friars teammates for the final 2:03. With those consecutive baskets, Doris, Grant has 17 points. Again, all 5 Notre Dame starters in double figures.
Timely buckets.
Trying to get the ball to Henton, guarded by Grant. Here goes LaDante Henton from the foul line. Another big shot.
See, Jackson does a great job keeping the ball out of Chris Dunn's hands. But I'll tell you what, not sure I want it in LaDante's either if I'm the Irish.
His career high 37 against Brown sophomore year. He is at 33 right now, is LaDante Henton.
Gonna come with a high ball screen for Grant.
7 to shoot. Jackson. And it's Dunn who comes up with the steal. Pushing ahead, Henton. And the Friars will reset.
Good decision, just smart. You know, probe the defense, otherwise reset.
Here goes Henton. Plenty of time on the clock. Henton. And the Friars retake the lead.
Timeout, Irish. This guy is one of the most underrated players in all of college basketball. Big moments, doesn't blink. Chris Dunn, can you manage the game? We'll just keep finding the guy who's been the best player on the floor alongside of Grant. Use the screen, relocate. Chris directing traffic. Bentel comes out, gives him a screen, gives him enough space to make the pass, finds the weak side of the floor with LaDante Henton. Delivers every single time.
And Doris, you know, we've been talking about no panic at the other end for Notre Dame with the basketball.
Yeah.
Those two guys are cool as ice.
Right. Well, you know, you go down 6 and you can get rushed if you're a young team. But when you have somebody who plays the game the way LaDante does, which is sort of nonplussed, right? He understands the circumstances. Look at Chris Dunn. Look at LaDante Henton. Love it. Love it. Love it.
I think Chris Dunn's leg feels a little bit better right now.
Yeah. Now you go back the other side, and I don't think you want the ball to go away from Jaren Grant at any time. I mean, listen, if he gives it up, if you're a teammate, unless you're under duress of that shot clock, get it back to Grant, because he's going to make great decisions, and he will find you if you're the player who's most open.
Jamie Sire here in studio and reminding you that Dayton and BC is coming up here on ESPN2 just as soon as Notre Dame and Providence is over. That game has tipped. You can see it over on ESPN News, and it'll be right here as soon as this one wraps up.
Final 37 seconds here in Uncasville, Connecticut. Notre Dame with the basketball down by 2. Grant draws the foul. And a chance to retake the lead from the foul line.
So what's different about that possession for them? Instead of having Grant start with the ball, they put him off the ball, and they got it to him in movement, and that meant his defender was moving, and that puts that defender at a deficit. Listen, you're at a deficit when you're guarding him anyway, but put him in movement and look out.
And if Notre Dame wants to win this basketball game, Doris, that man has to have the ball in his hands at every crucial moment. Shot clock is off. Final 29-7. Providence down a point. and they'll use a timeout.
So you want to give yourself multiple chances to win this thing. And if you're Ed Cooley, you could say, okay, we got to have a chance to win it, a putback opportunity, or a foul, right, in case we miss this thing. So it'd be very interesting to see how quickly does Ed Cooley go.
You figure LaDante Henton is the guy they want to get. Where do you think they want to get him the ball?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things they're doing late is obviously, and both of these teams are ball screen teams. And I think you're going to see Chris Dunn make a catch. Maybe Bentel comes out in a high ball screen situation with LaDante Henton on the side of the floor wherever he is driving.
Well, Henton is in the midst of a marvelous game. 36 points. One off of his career high.
The last two big shots, and again, this was a screen and roll into LaDante on the weak side of the floor. This time they put him off the ball, Grant. They allow somebody else to handle it to start the possession. They get him in movement and an easy opportunity with no ball screen.
So both these teams 4-0 right now. Notre Dame out of the ACC, Providence, the defending Big East champions. Somebody's going to walk off this floor with their first loss of the year.
There's a point, I think it was about 8 minutes, and we noted how many timeouts each had. As you see, Henton with a 36-point day, one shy of his career high, and Grant with 22 and 5.
So DeRozier, Dunn, Harris, Cartwright, and Henton, the 5 on the floor for Providence. Here's Henton. With 15 seconds, he hangs in the air and draws the foul.
So you did what you thought. You went efficiently, right? Because if he missed or didn't get fouled, you had the opportunity to lengthen the game. Now you have a chance to win it, and you're going to have to rely on your defense.
Well, the last time Notre Dame gave up as many as 35 points in a game, Marshawn Brooks, the former Friar. Henton matches his career high now with 37. More importantly, reties the game at 74.
Now, interesting. I can't anticipate that Mike Brey would necessarily use a timeout here. You don't want to give Providence a chance to set their defense. If you're Providence, you want to make them change direction coming up the floor, right? A little bit of soft pressure, and he's going to use the timeout. Make sure he gets what he wants. Let me ask you this. Do you like the idea at all of college basketball going to the NBA rule where off the timeout he no longer has to advance the ball? Or do you like college basketball in this situation?
No, I would prefer having it the way the NBA does.
Yeah.
I like that. How about you?
I like that. I really do. I like that. I mean, if it's a possession ball game, both teams have clearly earned the right to be in the game. So not to have to advance it would be an interesting thing. Listen, it'd be very interesting here. Does he make the same choice where Jaren Grant doesn't handle the ball initially? They try to get him the ball in movement. It'd be very interesting. Or is he going to switch it up here?
There is the man who will have the basketball in his hands, presumably for Notre Dame, down a point. He has scored Notre Dame's last 8 points.
And you can see Lamamba on the floor, and he'll get up, and just in case, want to make him use at least a couple of seconds here coming up the floor.
The ball screen for Grant. He fires it up. 6 seconds, 5. And it's Notre Dame basketball out of bounds.
Wow, and no whistle on that drive.
A lot of contact.
Bentel came over, and I mean, no reaction from Mike Brey. He's going to get a sub in the ball game right now.
VJ Beecham coming in, good three-point shooter.
Here is the drive. Wow, did they not blow the whistle because they didn't think he had an opportunity to make the shot?
Pastoria gets it into Connaughton. Block. And the Friars, thanks to LaDante Henton, stay unbeaten with a 75-74 thriller.
LaDante Henton looks like at a deficit because he's the one who's caught trying to close on Pat Connaughton, gets a piece of the ball without fouling, and a huge win for Providence.
Our final score, 75-74, Providence. Coming up next is coverage from the Puerto Rico tip-off. It's the third place game, Dayton versus Boston College. Mike Bray's Fighting Irish go down swinging. Providence wins today. Good afternoon from Mohegan Sun. Now here's Rich Hollenberg and LaFonso Ellis.